Welcome to Card Table Commentary. I'm your host, Seymour Peterson. Card Table Commentary is where we try to explain how the old economics became the new economics. Following the 1980s, where the Federal Reserve was forced to act very decisively to stop inflation, inflation seemed to become less of a problem in the next decade. Your experts would probably tell you that it was due to the astute manipulation of money supply and interest rates that this happy time occurred. I would postulate that the Federal Reserve, by trying things and seeing the results, got to thinking that they could be more expansionary than was previously thought without triggering inflation. And I feel that maybe one of the reasons this is true is that when there's excess money, when there's easy money, we call it, people have a choice of trying to buy more consumer goods and bidding up their price, or alternatively, if the investment climate is good, they may decide to invest some of that extra money in the markets. And by doing so, they channel it away from the items in the consumer price index that we always think of as indicating inflation. We think of an increase in the consumer price index as being bad, but we equate increases in the value of investments as being good. But I say they're really part of the same phenomenon, and that with an expansionary monetary policy, maybe when Apple stock goes up from $100 to $200 a share, what's really happening is that the real value of the Apple stock is staying the same, and the value of the dollar is going down from $1 to 50 cents. Gold seems to behave this way. And isn't a stock really just the right to receive a future stream of earnings from that company? Maybe restricting the money supply is effective in holding down inflation. But in times where there's ample money, or maybe more money that's needed, I think the consumer has a choice of either bidding up consumer prices or plowing that money into investments. If you look at over the last 30 years, you can find numerous instances where monetary policy was probably overly expansionary, and yet inflation didn't go up. At the same time, you'd see that during these times, asset prices usually showed a healthy increase. The other trend that really accelerated during the 90s was the importation of inexpensive manufactured goods from Asia and especially China. Especially in items like electronics, clothing, toys, even some building materials and automobile parts started to be sourced predominantly from Asia at greatly reduced prices to what we'd been able to manufacture them for here. It virtually drove U.S. producers of those kind of products out of business. This trend was so strong that it might have actually resulted in a decrease in the consumer price index. But major items like food, energy, occupancy costs, various services weren't really subject to foreign competition, and they make up a substantial part of that index. So it continued to rise, but at a more moderate rate than we'd seen before this decade. A class of consumer purchases that didn't see any decrease in price during this period were anything having to do with health care, education, or government services. There's an old adage that if you want more of something or if you want the price to go up, subsidize it. And if you want less of something, put a tax on it. And indeed, that's what happens with these kind of things. The government has gotten involved in subsidizing these kind of activities through tax laws, regulations, and outright appropriations. In the first installment of Card Table Commentary, we posed 12 questions that we were going to try to answer. One of them was, why, if inflation is too low, how come I seem to have less discretionary money to spend year after year? And the answer to that is that it depends on the mix of the things you consume. Someone who likes to buy electronic gadgets and have the latest big screen TV, he's going to see his prices actually probably go down, and his money's going to go further. On the other hand, if somebody's sending their son and daughter through college, they're screwed. And that's pretty much the answer to that question. In the next installment, we're going to talk about the what I call the financialization of the economy. Stay tuned for more Card Table Commentary.